Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am Muhammad Imran Qazi. Was discussing reptiles. Last time I discussed external, internal morphology and physiology in few perspectives of reptiles. So today I am going to discuss a very important part of reptiles' life, that is their sensory function. So be consistent and alert during the class. That is our fourth lecture. Nervous and sensory functions. Brains of reptiles is similar to brains of other vertebrates. That is very common phrase that reptiles are near to mammals, only one group ahead from mammals. So there is large similarities between reptiles and mammals. So as well as brain is concerned, there is much more similarity between reptiles and mammals. Cerebral hemisphere are larger, so is the increase in smell, because cerebral hemisphere is responsible for the function of smell. In reptiles, cerebrum is quite large to receive the information coming from sensory system related to smell. Vision is the dominant sense in most reptiles, but not all. Upper and lower eyelids, a nictitating membrane is present. Please remember that both these characters, eyelids and a nictitating membrane, these protect the eye from microbes, dust particles, and other harmful perspective component of the atmosphere of the world. A blood sinus protect and cleans the surface of the eye. The movement of the blood in the veins are helpful for the protection and clearance of the eyeball. Diagram is clear that brain of the reptiles have olfactory bulb, cerebrum, optic lobe, cerebellum, and pituitary gland. These are the prominent structures present in the brain of reptiles. That is prominently clear in the diagram given in the slide. Some reptiles possesses a median, that is also called as parietal eye, that develops from outgrowth of the roof of the brain. The eye that is present between two eyes and at the front head is called as median eye. That is located at the outgrowth part of the head. The structure of reptilian eye varies from species to species somehow, but not entirely. The ears of the snake detect substrate vibration, as you know, that fishes and amphibians also do this activity based on the vibrations that are present in the environment. These are detected with different body organs. They lack a middle ear cavity and auditory tube and a tympanic membrane. Their ear do not have these three basic components: middle ear cavity, auditory canal, and tympanic membrane. The inner ear of reptiles is similar to that of amphibians. So it means there is a similarity between reptiles and birds with the perspective of ear structure. Olfactory senses are better developed in reptiles. Their olfactory power is more sensible than that of amphibians. So it means the power of smell in amphibians is quite low than the reptiles. Uh, Reptiles have a powerful sense of smell. Jacob's organs are in diapsid reptiles. Please remember that diapsids are those reptiles which have two openings in their skull. Turtles lack olfactory organs. Rattlesnake and other pit vipers have heat sensitive pit organs. Pit organ that is very sensitive to heat, that tells the animal about the fluctuation of heat in the environment. So the sensory structure of the reptiles is directly related to smell, vision, sense of heat as well. Excretion and osmoregulation. The kidney of embryonic reptiles are similar to that of fishes. That may also have to remember that during the evolution, kidney have three steps, three names: pronephric, mesonephric, and metanephric, as I already discussed there. So in embryonic form, in embryonic body structure, the kidney is that of fishes. Related to fishes, a kidney with many more blood filtering units called nephrons replace the reptilian embryonic kidney during the development. When development completed, the animal grow in size. The filtering units in kidney called as nephrons are developed, and that is actually the total replacement of that kidney, that type of kidney that is present during their embryonic life stage. Most reptiles excrete uric acid, which help in minimum water loss. If you remember that the animals excrete three type of waste matter most of all. Number one, ammonia is a waste matter in those animals. Those live in aquatic environment, fresh water, that needs lot amount of water to excrete it. Second type is urea, that is mostly present in those animals that live in terrestrial environment. To excrete urea, there is a need of a small quantity of water. But the third waste matter is uric acid, that requires only 1 milliliter of water to excrete 1 gram of uric acid. So it means uric acid is more protective and non-sensitive waste matter that is ever created in the body of animals, those live in drastic conditions. So uric acid can also be stored in the body for short period of time. Reptiles excrete uric acid as a waste matter. Water absorption and habit like being nocturnal help in water conservation. Another property of reptiles is that these emerge in nights and remain hidden during the day. That is the property of the reptiles that help to conserve water in their body. That is technically a very important point, that at the daytime sunlight evaporate the water from the body that may cause dehydration, while during the night uh, the humidity in the air is more as compared to daytime. So water may reabsorb into the skin if there is any possibility. If there is not any possibility, uh, so water cannot be evaporate at the night. So that is the habit of reptiles, habitary, you can say, adaptation in the reptiles that help to keep their water preserved in their bodies. uh, in the diagram, the basic structure of reptilian kidney is shown. You see that reptiles have metanephric kidney. You have to remember that metanephric kidney is the modern form of kidney that contains the uh, nephrons as a filtration units. The kidney have after filtration of blood, after production of urea and uric acid, that release into a canal called as ureter that leads to bladder for some time storage. Uh, Here bladder uh, leads to cloaca for the expel of excretory matter. So that is the basic structure of reptilian osmoregulation, excretion, production. Three basic components, four basic components, sorry, are the part of reptilian excretory system: metanephric kidney, ureter, bladder, and cloaca. That is the exit opening for the waste matter. Now the next topic is reproduction and development in reptiles. Reptiles possesses internal fertilization and amniotic eggs. That is typical point, as I already discussed many times, that in amphibians, when I discussed their further phylogenetic consideration, I discussed there that therapsids uh, lead to uh, formation of generation of reptiles, birds, and mammals. So here I ever discussed many times that the first organism that have amniotic membranes, according to the evolutionary point of view, that is reptiles. These contain three extra embryonic membranes during the development of their young one. These amniotic membranes are amnion, chorion, and allantois, are used for protection of embryo, gas exchange for embryo, and to collect waste matter from the embryo. That is the function of these extra embryonic membrane, and the animal that contain these extra embryonic membrane in their egg at the time of development is called as amniot, and the egg is called as amniotic egg. So the fertilization in the reptiles is internal, uh, as different from amphibians, where fertilization is external in the environment. The sperms of the male are transferred into the body of female. So the process in which sperms are transferred from the special structure of male into the reproductive structure of female for the fertilization. That process is called as internal fertilization. Fertilization occurs in reproductive tract of female, so it clearly means that male transfer its sperm with the special structure into the reproductive structure of females. Gonads lie in the abdominal cavity. Testes and ovaries are concerned. Sperms may be stored for up to 4 years in some turtles and up to 6 years in some snakes in female reproductive tract. So that is very common term that in the physical conditions sperms may store, that you can say that fertilization may delay, or it is also called as fertilization diffuse. When sperms are in the body of the female that are stored and are used at the appropriate time for fertilization. So in turtles, transferred sperm may stored may use after 6 years for fertilization. Sorry, snakes and 4 years in turtles. Parthenogenesis have been described in 6 families of lizards and 1 family of snake. You remember that parthenogenesis is a process in which an egg is developed into embryo without fertilization. In animals, that process is called as parthenogenesis. Without fertilization, development may take place in a few species families of reptiles, as 6 families of lizards also develop without fertilization, and 1 family of snake may develop into young one without fertilization. If sperms are absent, egg may develop, may activate into the development. Reptiles often have a complex reproductive behavior. Head hobbing display by male lizard reveal bright patches of colors on the throat. That is actually the indication of sex. That is a optic indication. uh, Body color of the male may indicate the ready for reproduction, while there are other features, bright patches of the colors on the throat, these also lead to invitation. Courtship in snakes is based primarily on tactic stimulation. Stimulation means one member of the family, one member of the species uh, rubs its body with other member of the species. It means that male rubs its body, female, or vice versa. That is the basic indication of copulation. One knows that this indication, that is only one way of indication. That may be visual, that may be tactile as present in reptile, that may be auditory as a voice production in amphibians. Many other signals are present uh, between species for reproduction. Vocalization are important not only in crocodiles. Vocalization is also a signal of copulation, but not in crocodiles. Other reptiles use vocalization. Reptilian eggs are usually uh, abundant after laying. About 100 species of reptiles have some kind of parent care of eggs. That is a mixing case. Few reptiles care their young ones and few do not care. For reptiles, temperature within the nest influences the sex of hatching. There is a main point that parthenogenesis leads to the development of different gender, male or female, while other factors that may affect the development of different gender, that among them one is the temperature. Temperature fluctuation may cause if for example if temperature is more than 37 degrees centigrade, the female young one generates, and if the temperature is less than 37 degrees centigrade, for example, that is not exact value, I am discussing about an example. If the temperature is less than 30 degrees centigrade, then male young one may create, that may vice versa. For reptiles, temperature within the nest influences the sex of hatching. Parental care is most important in crocodiles. Crocodiles do uh, parent parental cares to their young ones, care them and transport them when they need, uh, until these get independent from their parents. The last topic of our presentation is further phylogenetic consideration. In further phylogenetic consideration, we will discuss that which animal will develop from reptiles, and in which direction their descendants will go. What will be the next future of these reptiles? Descendants of diapsids evolutionary lineage includes the birds. Please remember this. When If I move back to the start of this chapter, I discussed there that there are three lineages in the reptiles according to the skull structure: one diapsid with two opening, one synapsid with one opening in the skull, in the temporal region, while another was anapsid. Anapsid, those reptiles which do not have any opening except eye orbital in their skull. So here I am discussing about the two lineages, diapsids and synapsids. Diapsids, those which have two openings in their skull, they lead to the birth of birds, lead to the uh, birth to the birds, while descendant of synapsids, those which have only one opening in their skull, leads to the development of the mammals. So the descendants of mammals, descendant of reptiles or birds as well as mammals, you can say that there are two lineages from the reptiles. One will give rise to modern birds and other to modern mammals. So it means we can say here that reptiles are very much similar to the birds and mammals. So that was all about our chapter, in which today I discussed sensory structure in the reptiles, their excretion and osmoregulation, reproduction in the reptiles, as well as a further phylogenetic consideration of the reptiles, their next coming lineages in evolutionary point of view. So if today you have any question, any suggestion, that is the last lecture of this chapter, reptiles, you can say, you can suggest, and you can help to improve this learning method with your suggestions. So please care of you. uh, Allow me with these words: fi amanillah.